The final chapter of a dynasty. The Warriors' reign fades, but their legacy rewrites the NBA playbook. You could see vestiges of what the Golden State Warriors used to be, what they hoped to be if everything flowed optimally. Steph Curry bopping and hopping, paying no mind to the defense of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, hitting a step-back triple. Jimmy Butler catching and shooting decisively, not waiting on the defense to shade his way. But more appropriately, you saw the best of what the Warriors used to be in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Devastating three-point shooting, suffocating defense, sharing the ball selflessly. That's the mark the Warriors have left on the league following this glorious run, the one that seemingly came to an end Wednesday night, the Timberwolves advancing in 5 games with a 121-110 victory here at Target Center. The Timberwolves advanced to this round for the second straight year, both berths improbable given the lack of optimism most of the basketball world felt for this franchise. That goodwill was left toward the mainstays, which is why there was so much hope for a Curry return if his injured hamstring had improved in the break between Games 5 and 6. Perhaps it was for the best the series didn't extend. Not for lack of drama, because a potential Curry comeback would have been dripping with theater, him coming out to the Chase Center faithful, the belief that a miracle would have been possible. Certainly the anemic way the Warriors performed on offense Wednesday, shooting under 40% for most of the night, they would have been aided by Curry's offensive wizardry. The Timberwolves did everything they could to gum up the ball movement offense. And even though the Warriors accomplished their game plan goals of winning the possession game and hoisting up 39 three-pointers, it was still futile. When you don't have Steph on the floor, the margin for error is so much smaller, and everything has to take on more, Butler said. Injuries happen, but it is a lot different with Steph not out there. But Curry's presence wouldn't have helped defend Julius Randle playing the best and most controlled basketball of his career, or Anthony Edwards continuing to grow into his own as a current torchbearer. To a man, the Warriors gave full credit to the Timberwolves, who shot 63% and 42% from 3. It's hard not to when a team beats you 4 straight times, Curry being there or not. The Warriors have won 2 playoff series since winning the 2022 title, and each loss signaled something minute. Losing to the Los Angeles Lakers ended an awkward season that began with Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole in training camp, which followed them all year. Losing to the Sacramento Kings in the play-in tournament last year ended the long kiss goodbye to Klay Thompson. This one, it wasn't like the Warriors lost to mirror images of themselves. Nobody would confuse Anthony Edwards or Rudy Gobert any reasonably facsimile to players of Warriors vintage, but the house seemed telling. Seeing Jaden McDaniels flying around on both ends sure conjured up images of a younger Andre Iguodala as the ultimate glue guy, and the Timberwolves, even through their flaws, took full advantage of a wounded team. They didn't want to take any chances of Curry coming back in a Game 6. The Timberwolves took control of the series in Game 3, when they suffocated the Warriors' offense in the 4th quarter, and then followed it up with another professional performance 2 nights later to take this commanding lead. In a way, they were paying the best homage to the Warriors with their approach, the appropriate fear. They're no longer in their dynastic phase, I would say. But the era of Golden State basketball is still rolling on and very, very relevant, Timberwolves coach Chris Finch said. When they've not been at the top in the last number of years, a lot of injury-driven, which has been unfortunate for them. But it's incredible what they've done, and what they've built, and what they've accomplished, and in doing so, really also many ways changed how the game is played. A lot of discussion will revolve around if Curry was healthy. But when your foundation is around a 37-year-old, injury has to be baked in because that's what happens to a soon-to-be 38-year-old. You just hope it doesn't happen this time of year. I know we had a shot. I know we could have gone the distance, Warriors coach Steve Kerr said. But it doesn't matter. Again, everything in the playoffs is about who stays healthy and who gets hot, you know. Are you playing well at the right time? Do you have multiple guys step up in key games, make shots, and do you have good health? Without the last one, there's no point in asking the first 2 questions, especially if it's Curry's health that's in question. The Timberwolves didn't run out of good players while it seemed like the Warriors had more than a few who need more playoff seasoning. Some simply looked out of element, and the roster has to be built to fit around the vets' needs, especially Curry's. This is their lot. Green will be 36 shortly after next year's All-Star break, Butler will turn 36 before training camp begins, and Curry enters true old head territory as he races toward 40. Kerr, Butler, and Green were optimistic about next season's prospects given how they performed after Butler came aboard, but you wonder if that's enough on its face to believe in. It is tough, but it's tough on both sides, Butler said. If we're healthy, if all this and if all that, it may be different. But we'll take our chances for sure with Steph out there. We'll come back and figure this thing out. The Western Conference is increasingly a younger man's game, and asking these three accomplished but body-weary players to ward off that level of competition seems too much to ask without significant personnel changes. When factoring in Butler's extension, the Warriors have a lot of free agents, most notably Jonathan Kuminga, restricted, and managed to get under the punitive second luxury tax apron this season, which gives them some wiggle room this summer, like the non-taxpayer mid-level exception around $14 million. I'm excited, Kerr said. We've got Jimmy and Dre and Steph all coming back. Our young players performed really well. There's a lot to look forward to. But to keep pace with the top of the West, the Warriors are missing something significant, even beyond the Butler acquisition, which bolstered the back end of their season. I think every team in the NBA feels like they need personnel help that's not in the building, Green said. It has nothing to do with who's young, who's old. That's the nature of the business. Contracts happen, money situations happen. But do I have confidence in our young guys that they can take the next step? 100%, absolutely. Given what occurred with Jason Tatum, one wrong step could cost Curry and the Warriors more than just a playoff series. He's the fulcrum of everything that's blue and gold. That sprawling building right off the water exists because of him. Kerr is a top 15 coach of all time because of him. Green is a champion because of him, and Butler hopes he can capture that elusive title with Curry. You have to be lucky and good to win one championship, let alone have the sustained period of excellence. But you have to be even more than perfect to keep this thing going longer than it has, and that's impossible. Missing on Moses Moody, James Wiseman, and not being able to make anything work with Kuminga, all early draft picks during their down years following Kevin Durant's defection to Brooklyn, feels like it's biting them now. That could be unfairly nitpicking and imperfect science. And it's ironic the Warriors have just now decided to go all in with Curry given how they towed the line for a few years with that two timelines notion and got a championship out of it with hardly any contributions from their youth. Now, as gravity and father time starts to close in on the greatest shooter we've ever seen, you wonder if the Warriors have the stomach or the mere means to do all that's necessary to keep up with the Joneses, or rather the Gilgeous-Alexanders or Edwardses of the world. The NBA's collective bargaining agreement has made it more difficult for even the thirstiest teams to keep things alive, let alone play at more than the margins. You wonder if it's too late, even as the Warriors stand to look like the last great dynasty we will see for quite a while. You wonder if by getting a little too cute, or if they didn't believe Curry could be this excellent this long, if they cost themselves more glory. You wonder that because you can see the sun setting more and more. You wonder that because Target Center sounded a lot like that old building in Oakland when it first started rocking. Because we didn't know all the wannabes didn't have a chance. We just knew everything for the foreseeable future would run through Oracle, just like everything could very well run through Minneapolis or Oklahoma City. This is what Jimmy Butler say after game.
Jimmy, to what degree did the fall Game 2 in Houston affect how were you feeling the rest of the postseason?
Fine. Good enough to go out there and compete. We're not going to use anything as an excuse, so just didn't win.
And then how would you just contextualize how different things were throughout the course of the series without having Steph out there?
Yeah. Obviously, it's very different whenever you don't have Steph on the floor. Smaller. And I feel like everybody has to take on more and everybody has to play a little bit of a different role. But that's just the game. Injuries happen, but it is a lot different with Steph not out there.
How do you view just, I guess, your few months here and what the future and what
Yeah.
this franchise can look like?
Great. A bunch of great guys that work incredibly hard, young talent that's going to be incredibly successful in this league. It's all about, staying healthy as it always is and getting more and more comfortable playing with one another.
When do you and Draymond and Steph get together and start talking about next year?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Maybe on the plane, I don't know. For sure sometime this summer. But when it happens, it will happen.
Have you seen enough? I know you played 8 playoff games with Steph.
Yeah.
Have you seen enough to really be convinced that healthy, this team is a contender?
For sure. I think we all know that. We all believe that. But like I said, injuries is part of it. Nobody wants to be injured. It's all about playing your basketball, the best basketball at the right time, and being healthy at the right time. Unfortunately, that wasn't us, and we came up short.
Jimmy, the last couple of times you've been in the playoffs, you've had to maybe carry undermanned rosters further than maybe where we projected where you guys should have been. Does this collection or group, or at least you, Steph, and Draymond at the top, does that give you a little bit more optimism, maybe despite your age, despite how tough the Western Conference is? Like, do you walk away feeling a little bit different than you have your last few playoff rounds?
Yeah, it is tough, but it's tough on both sides, West and East. And like I just said, if we're healthy, if all of this and if all of that, then it may be different. We don't know. But we're going to take our chances for sure if Steph is out there. But, we'll come back and figure this thing out, and next year do the same thing.
Jimmy, you guys were so close in Game 3. You had them with 6 minutes to go. You were up, and they blitzed at the end there. When you look at what they were able to do to you guys with your offense, what made them so successful defending you guys?
I don't know, maybe some physicality, making us take tough shots. But I don't think it's ever the offense. I think tonight they shot 62%. So if we can't stop guys from putting the ball into the basket, it's going to be hard either way. So I'm not going to say that our offense was a problem. Guard the 3, make them miss a little bit more.
On the other side, then, you guys had a really strong defense last few months of the regular season. What did they do to sort of take that apart?
Move the ball incredibly well, get into the paint. I don't feel like we took too much away from them. We talked about what we wanted to do. We did it in some spurts, but not the entire game, which we needed to do. So they played well. You got to give them that.
Jimmy, it feels like you guys have been going 100 miles an hour since you got here when you were traded.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. A lot of great basketball to be had and to be played, and I can't wait to get to that point because I don't want to be not playing basketball.
24-25.
New destination for myself. Getting comfortable. Working towards success.
Here is Steve Kerr explain everything.
They were fantastic. Had a great series, beating us 4 games straight after that first one. Congrats to Chris Finch, Tim Connolly. They've done a great job here the last few years building this team, and back-to-back Western Conference Finals, pretty damn impressive. So it was a fight. Really proud of our guys. Yeah, I mean, injuries are, part of the playoffs. I learned a long time ago, the playoffs are really about health, and then just guys stepping up and making some big shots, big plays, in key games. That's what decides every series. And so we've been on both ends of that, and it's just part of it. So there's no sense in dwelling on it. And, I don't want to take anything away from what Minnesota just accomplished. So no sense in even talking about Steph.
How much carryover do you feel like there was from going 7 with Houston from the last series into this series, just the attrition that series required?
Well, We obviously came in here and won game one, coming right off of game seven. So I don't think it was an issue. I thought game three was the key to the series. We're at 1-1 and we've got a 6-point lead in the mid fourth, and they made huge plays down the stretch of that game, and that was the one we needed to get. And then I thought the last two games they broke free offensively. I mean, they shot 63% tonight. We couldn't stop them. We actually did everything we wanted to accomplish. We dominated the possession game. We got 39 threes up, but 12 more field goal attempts, 15 more free throws. We did everything we needed to do to win the game. But they shot 63%. So ultimately, you've got to be able to guard and get stops, and we weren't able to do that.
You guys were only down by 6 with about 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Then they go on that 9-0 run, kind of like what they did in the last game. I guess what happened there?
Yeah, they broke free. It felt like the transition stuff in the first half was really key. I looked at the stat sheet at halftime. They only had 6 transition points. I think that was misleading. Those stats are a little nebulous sometimes too. It felt to me like they were getting out in transition and then getting into the paint, and then their passing was spectacular tonight. They had 20 assists in the first half, had us on a string. We kept having to rotate because the ball would get free, and we'd had to bring help, and the ball started to move for them, and they played a beautiful first half, and that last 9-0 run was a big part of the game.
Two of your youngest guys had the biggest scoring outputs tonight, obviously, Jonathan and Brandon. What did you see from them tonight and in the series? Brandon obviously had struggled.
I thought it was our best offensive game of the series, even though we didn't shoot well. The ball really moved. We had great pace, great tempo. I thought Brandon did a really good job of pushing the ball, getting it swung side to side. We were able to attack them on closeouts because the ball was moving. Our spacing was much better. That was a big problem for us earlier in the series, just the lack of spacing. Obviously playing some new lineups that hadn't played together. A lot of lineups that had guys who are used to being in the paint, and we were asking them to be on the perimeter. Tonight we did a much better job of that, of getting spaced, and that allowed us to move the ball. And both JK and Brandon, had big scoring nights. I was really thrilled for Moses. It's been a tough postseason for him, but he showed exactly who he is. As a player, as a person, just staying ready, coming in, having that big fourth quarter. That was meaningful, and I love our guys. Like I said, we this was a hell of a run for us. Considering where we were at the trade deadline. Jimmy changed our season, flipped everything for us, gave us a chance. We became one of the best teams in the league, and obviously, you get to the final 8 in the NBA, you're one of the best teams, and we had a shot, but things didn't go our way. But like I said, Minnesota deserves the credit. They were the better team.
With that said, how do you feel about the future? And I'm talking more just next season. With Jimmy now here and what you guys can maybe build on.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got obviously Jimmy and Dre and Steph all coming back. Our young players performed really well this year. There's a lot to look forward to.
Not trying to set you up with excuses, because I know you don't want that, but was Butler pretty much 100%, or was he compromised physically?
Well, I think he was definitely compromised through all series. I think the injury in Houston definitely impacted him. He's been playing through pain, and I think the biggest thing in this series is that without the spacing that Steph gives us, Minnesota did a great job of just playing us one-on-one. They guarded us on the perimeter. They were trying to take away our threes, and that forced Jimmy to play a lot of one-on-one against a long athletic team. And his whole game is to ISO, get the ball into the paint, and then move it to generate shots. And they just made the decision not to leave our perimeter guys, even our non-shooters on the perimeter. They just stayed with them everywhere and made Jimmy play one-on-one. And because they have a lot of length and athleticism, it wasn't easy for him to get anything at the rim and in the paint, and obviously they've got Gobert back there, so they made things difficult on Jimmy. Once Steph went out, it changed everything for our whole team, but especially for Jimmy.
Steve, you guys did a nice job, especially in the first half, of getting Anthony off the ball, which is what you wanted to do. He had 6 points at halftime, but you guys were down 15. Is there an adjustment that you can make from that? Or, where do you go from that when you're down 15 and he has 6 points?
Yeah, we blitzed him early in the game. We were trapping him, and they got free, and they scored several times against our blitzes, and that's the risk you take, when you go to that coverage. So I thought all in all tonight we threw a lot of stuff at him. Box and one possession, a lot of zone, trapping in the backcourt. But they're a hell of a team. They've got shooting everywhere, and that's the name of the game in modern NBA. If you can space the floor with 4 or 5 different guys, it makes defense really, really difficult. And I thought their spacing, their shooting just spread us out, and that allowed their guys to attack and get into the paint.
Following up on the earlier question about Pods and Jonathan, your younger guys, obviously with Steph's injury, they had a bigger role in this series. How much can this playoff experience sort of help them going forward?
Fantastic playoff experience for both guys. Very proud of Jonathan, to go from where he was in the Houston series, not really being part of the rotation. And then when Steph got hurt, staying ready and coming in, and he played really well here these last 4 games. And BP, this was a great experience for him. He said there were times in the series where he was hesitant to shoot. Even tonight, he was 4 for 6. I thought he could have gotten 10 or 11 threes off, and we needed those. And I told him that after the game. I said, when we get back here next year, you are not going to turn down a single shot. And that's part of the playoffs. I lived it as a player. It is it's a mind game. I call it, something more profane. It's, but the playoffs are they are a mind game. And it's really easy to lose your confidence. Teams throw different schemes at you. You have a bad game, and everybody's talking about your shooting percentage, and you feel like you're on an island. I've been there, and it was great for Brandon to go through that and then finish the series with a great game, because he's got to understand this is what it feels like. Nobody cares in January if you have 2 games where you're 4 for 20. But in the playoffs, everybody's writing about it. Everybody's talking about it. You feel exposed, and that's a big part of playoff experience, is understanding you got to keep firing. You got to stay aggressive, keep your confidence any way you can.
Steve, you mentioned earlier we had a shot. When you look back at this series, at the playoffs, the way you guys played to get out of Houston, the way Steph and you guys were playing that game 1 right before you got hurt, will you wonder what if? What did you think, how far this team could go, the potential?
Yes, the next few days. I don't even have to think. Whatever. I know we had a shot. I know we could have gone the distance. Maybe we wouldn't have, but it doesn't matter. Again, everything in the playoffs is about who stays healthy and who gets hot. Are you playing well at the right time? Do you have multiple guys step up in key games, make shots? And do you have good health? And, you see it every year in every series. And so there's a little bit of luck involved, and we, like I said, we've been on both sides of that, and it's just part of it. For sure. The second half of the season, we became one of the best teams in the league. We had, really, I think, the number 1 ranked defense for the last 30 games. We became a 2-way basketball team. I think Mike Dunleavy's a superstar. I think what he's done in the last couple of years, I have total faith in Mike and his ability to look at our team, figure out what we need, and help us get better this summer. And I'm excited for what's ahead. And yeah, disappointed, but Minnesota was great, and I wish them well.
Steve, given the ages of Steph and Draymond and Jimmy, how much is luck just a part of when you get to this point? Luck that they stay healthy, luck that, older players stay upright at this point.
You need luck when they're younger too, you do. Like I said, we've been on both sides of it. 2015 we go to the finals, and Cleveland's without Kyrie and Kevin Love, and the next year, we're in the playoffs and Steph goes down and he's banged up and Draymond gets suspended, and stuff happens, and we've been on both sides of it. And so yes, our main three guys are older now, so we're going to have to navigate that as best we can. But you just go for it and do the best you can.
Given the arc of the season where you guys, finished, how do you think you'll remember 24-25?
I will remember this season for the way this team was connected and persevered, and what an incredible group. Going back to October training camp, playing 13 guys out of the gate, and then our team transforming with the trade for Jimmy. But I enjoyed coaching every single guy on this team. And all you can really ask as a coach is for your team to commit to each other, to the cause, and for guys to fight through adversity when things don't go their way. And we saw that over and over again with all of our guys. And that's really satisfying. So I thoroughly enjoyed this season, love our guys, and like I said, it's sad that it's over, but it's a really fun year.
Draymond said something after Game 4. He said that it seemed like every time we get a little run going, they have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Does that take an emotional or a psychological toll on a team when you see you're coming back, and they zap right back at you?
Yeah, for sure. But look, they were the better team. I mean, Julius Randle was incredible. What a series, and he's always been a really good player in this league. I think he has taken a leap. I remember playing here early in the season, and it looked like a tough fit, and they didn't have the spacing. They missed Towns, and you fast forward to now, he's 13 for 18 tonight. He was just incredible the whole series. We couldn't stop him. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is just a superstar. So they were the better team, and yeah, it's demoralizing, but that's that's what the game is about. Can you get stops? And we couldn't get stops. Thank you.
Great.